I saw this story and did a double take because I thought it was a joke. I thought there's no way there must be more to this. And the story basically asked the question, should poppies be allowed in Canadian courts? My first reaction was, why is this question even being asked? Until I read the next paragraph, which said that in Nova Scotia and Saskatchewan, judges have decided, at least a couple of them anyway, that no, they will not be allowed in their courts, in their courtrooms, with one of them saying, while they understand the desire to pay respect to veterans, allowing for such symbols, referring to the poppy, during courtroom proceedings could tarnish their necessary impartiality. Okay, need to understand more because I've read both premiers, by the way, in Saskatchewan and Nova Scotia have come out. In fact, in Nova Scotia, Tim Houston, who's the president or the premier there, actually came out and said, this is disgusting, referring to that judge in his province, saying that in her courtroom this would not be allowed. So, Dr. Dwight Newman is a professor at the University of Saskatchewan. He's a Canada Research Chair in Rights, Communities, and Constitutional Law, and he is on the line. Dr. Newman, thank you for being here this afternoon. Can I begin by asking you your reaction to when you saw this story?
Well, thanks for having me. It was a surprise, frankly, when I saw it as well, because I didn't think judges would be prohibiting poppies. The story in Saskatchewan, though, is with an experienced prosecutor for whom it was very meaningful to wear a poppy, and she's presumably done prosecutions at this time of year before, so it was a surprise that she wasn't allowed to, and it was a surprise when I saw the story coming out of Nova Scotia as well.
So when I read that part about, the judge saying allowing for such symbols during courtroom proceedings could tarnish their necessary impartiality, what do you take that to mean?
I'm not sure that that's well phrased by that judge, but I do think the judge, to be fair to them, is getting at a deeper principle that it would be inappropriate to have various kinds of symbols in the courtroom that could suggest any kind of political affiliation or support for a cause. I just don't think the poppy is like that.
Okay, I mean, I never even thought the poppy or attached any kind of political significance to the poppy. I'm not sure that anybody, at least I've never heard anybody suggesting that. I've never heard anybody saying, oh, I'd rather you not wear that into the room because it's going to offend some people. So where's the issue here exactly as you see it?
Well, I agree with you. I don't see it as a political symbol, but I think the judges are trying to adhere to a deep and important principle of not having additional symbols in the courtroom, and they've misapplied it in this instance to something that doesn't have that kind of political significance. It's a sign of respect to those who've made the ultimate sacrifice for our country and for the deepest values of our country. But I do think that I don't think they were being malicious, is what I'm saying. I think they were applying what they thought is a deeper principle and is a deeper principle. I just think this isn't the right application for it.
All right. I will point out, by the way, I keep mentioning individual judges in this case, but with respect to Nova Scotia, the heads of Nova Scotia's two top courts say they support the discretionary power of a judge to ban legal staff from wearing poppies on their clothing. So it's not as if we have, a rogue judge or two. The ruling from the top court suggests, no, this is perfectly fine. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I mean, that's a more recent development on the story, and I saw that as well. I was disappointed by that. I actually hoped the story would move in recent days towards poppies being allowed, but instead the two chief justices in Nova Scotia have instead they're backing up their judge, but in the process they're reinforcing this unfortunate policy.
So can you give us an example? I mean, how would this some way be considered, or, in the case, in these two provinces anyway, in these two courtrooms, how would this be considered somehow impartial or not impartial, but partial, really?
Yeah, the Chief Judge and Chief Justice in Nova Scotia came up with an example which I don't consider especially realistic, or I at least consider it quite strained. And they said, well, what if a non-veteran is charged with the assault of a veteran and walks into a courtroom where everybody's wearing a poppy, and this could make the accused doubt something about the legal process there. I honestly don't think that someone would attach that significance to the poppy, that they would think that's going to play out in some problematic way. I don't think it's a very realistic scenario. They were imagining this happening on November 10th, and I guess if it did, I mean, you get that strange confluence of events. The solution might be just to move the trial to the 12th. But in any case, I mean, we have other fundamental symbols in the courtroom. There's often a picture of the monarch on the wall, and that doesn't mean that someone who's been charged by the crown with something doubts the fundamental fairness of proceedings, or someone who's suing the crown. I don't find their example particularly compelling, but they're trying to go above and beyond, I guess, in ensuring that nobody doubts things. The only trouble is, I think, banning the poppy actually looks worse than allowing it, honestly.
Yeah, this is kind of one of those thou doth protest too much sort of situations, isn't it? I mean, really, at the end of the day?
I think it's them being unduly cautious in applying that principle, and in the process, it actually has an unfortunate consequence that the public's not reacting well to this, understandably. I think the public should be thoughtful of the fact that the judges are trying to just ensure that they avoid any risk of political bias, but I think it's also fair to say they don't agree with this application of that principle, and I hope the courts can be persuaded to change it.
Can I ask as well, again, if we're going to talk about hypotheticals here, which is the rationale you just mentioned here that the judges are using, right? What if a case where someone who's a non-veteran had attacked a veteran? I mean, should someone decide they have a right to wear this, and again, it would have to be on that day because that's the day we're talking about, could they sue the province or wherever the jurisdiction was to say, I have a constitutional right to wear this, you can't prohibit me from wearing it? There might be such suits in some circumstances. I think that might be subject to limits in the courtroom, and I think a prosecutor is not going to launch that lawsuit, for example. I guess individuals, members of the public, haven't been precluded from wearing poppies. So it would just be participants before the judge, and I don't think they're so likely to put that suit. Okay. But who knows? I mean, we can see the possibility of a real conflict arising here that would be unfortunate. Well, we're already seeing that, right? You have two premiers who've come out and said they don't support this idea. I'm not sure what powers they have to change it, but it's already getting reaction.
Yeah. Well, in Nova Scotia, the Premier is talking of passing legislation. There may be some difficulties in applying that to courts because of the principle of judicial independence.
Right.
Even if it does apply, there's a conflict in the process where it would frankly be far better if the court were to come to a different decision on its own, just so that things didn't have to go that route.
Well, let's hope with enough backlash, that is the decision that ultimately gets made here. Doctor, I want to thank you so much for your time today. Appreciate it.
Oh, happy to talk with you.
Dr. Dwight Newman over at the University of Saskatchewan. So, that situation, this whole idea, and I should clarify, I'm glad he brought it up at the end. It's not about people in the court. It's about staff in the court. So not people, who are not members of the judge's, immediate administrative group. They're the ones who have been told they can't wear poppies. You, as a citizen, can certainly wear a poppy into the court, as I understand this now. But even that's kind of a crazy idea, so we'll see what happens.
Introducing Bryan Adams Radio on iHeartRadio. Hosted by Bryan Adams himself.
Join me for an insider look on a wild ride through 40 years of global rock and roll.
Bryan Adams Radio. Now available on the free iHeartRadio app. Or ask your smart speaker to play Bryan Adams Radio on iHeartRadio.
Who's ready to rock?
Kids wanna rock.